This is the second part of the Ponseti treatment, which is called the maintenance phase. The foot has been completely corrected, and now the child's foot is ready to go into what's either called a Clubfoot Brace, a foot abduction brace, and there are various ones on the market. I'm going to be showing you this particular brace. The affected foot will always be turned out further into abduction than the unaffected foot. So for this brace, this would be the unaffected side, which would be at 30 degrees. This particular brace has two settings. It has 30 degrees for the unaffected side and 60 degrees for the affected side. If you have bilateral clubfoot, then they will obviously both be set to 60 degrees of abduction. A good clubfoot brace is light and comfortable. It has a heel cup so that the child's foot can sit right at the back of the shoe with the heel down to maintain that dorsiflex position. The bar and the boot itself will aid in maintaining dorsiflexion, at least 10 to 15 degrees of dorsiflexion. The boots then obviously need to be connected to a bar so that they remain in abduction. The boots without the bar do not maintain the correction of the foot. So the child will always wear the boots and the bar together to maintain that correction. With this particular boot, it has a foot plate, which one attaches at the bottom. The foot plate must be aligned with the shoe. You'll see there are two different holes here on the shoe itself, but you must make sure that the foot plate is aligned with the shoe. It has a small insert over here, which one puts in between the plate and the shoe. And then the plate is attached to the bottom of the boot in that position. And then you can adjust. If you flip it over, you can get 30 degrees, or if you flip it over to the other side, you get 60 degrees of abduction. Once this is connected, then the bar is just pressed in to that position, and the foot is held in 60 degrees on the affected side and 30 degrees on the unaffected side. When measuring a child for a clubfoot brace, the foot should sit comfortably in the shoe. The heel must be right at the back of the foot of the brace, and the toes come to the front. There is room for growth, and they're ready for a new size when the toes start to curl right over the end of the boot. In terms of the bar, with this particular brace, sizes 000 to 3 will all have this size bar, which is a size 1, and the size of the bar is usually measured according to the width of the shoulders of the child. So as the child grows, the length of the bar must also be increased. Here the sizing again is relative to the length of the bar, but one can use a wider bar with a smaller pair of shoes at the clinician's decision if they feel that the shoulder width is large but they have smaller feet. So just to remember, shoulder width and bar length should be in line with one another. Once the brace has been fitted, things to look for is that the foot is comfortably in the brace, that the feet are in a good position, that the affected foot is abducted further than the unaffected foot, and that the parents are comfortable with applying the brace, fitting it, and removing the brace and the bar. In terms of brace wear, it's essential that you have parent buy-in from the beginning. It can be introduced, the discussion around brace wear, when they are still in the casting phase, and then once the parents reach the bracing phase, that they're very comfortable fitting the brace, removing the brace, and are also aware of the schedule of when to wear the brace, how long they can take it off for each day. And in terms of going forwards with the clinician seeing the patients, that the follow-ups are all adhered to and the parents return, and that the foot is checked each time for any problems in terms of brace wear or the foot itself, if there's just to note any signs of relapse, in which case the foot must then go back and the patient must then go back into the casting phase of treatment.
So Michelle, can you please explain to me, how do I know when the foot is ready to go into the brace?
Okay, so if he has finished his casting phase, what's important to look for are all the components that should have been corrected in the casting phase, the bracing cannot correct the foot any further, it just maintains the correction. So that's really important to know. Also with the relapsed foot, it cannot be corrected in a brace. He needs to first complete the casting phase, correct the foot, and then either have a tenotomy or not, depending on if he has adequate dorsiflexion.
So sometimes you can go into the brace, have a relapse, then you have to go back into cast. You can't go straight back into the brace. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
So you've always got to go back to the beginning. So the components that are critical to look for before he's ready for the brace is that he has enough abduction. So we're looking at 60 degrees of abduction in the foot, and then dorsiflexion at least 15 degrees, at least 15 degrees of dorsiflexion, which he's not doing, but he does have 15 degrees of dorsiflexion. And then the other components of the foot, which would have been corrected earlier on in the bracing, but to be sure to check for before going into the brace, is that the tailor head is covered.
To get the 60 degrees.
Yep, into the abduction, and that there is no curvature of the lateral border of the foot, that he has a nice straight side of the foot, and that the medial crease is no longer there. Of course, with an adequate dorsiflexion, you're also not going to have any remaining posterior crease. So those are the components that one must look for before bracing.
Okay, so to recap, 15 to 20 degrees of dorsiflexion.
Around 15.
Around 15. And then covering the tailor head, 60 degrees with the abduction.
Correct.
To make sure that the lateral border is not curved, it's nice and straight, and that the medial crease will be gone, as well as the posterior crease.
Correct.
And then it's ready for the brace.
And then the other is just to check if all those components have been corrected, there won't be any residual equinus. So that's also something to look for. But if the other components have been corrected, there won't be residual equinus. It's essential to note that if any of these components are missing, for example, if he doesn't have adequate dorsiflexion, that if a tenotomy has not been performed, that the tenotomy must first be performed in order to get dorsiflexion. Or if he's missing adequate abduction, that the casting phase isn't complete. So the casting phase and the foot correction must first be complete before his foot is ready for a brace.
So every time he comes back for a checkup with the brace, you will check these components each time to make sure there's been no relapse before going back into the brace.
Correct.
I got it.
So with his monthly or 3 monthly checkups, if there's a tendency for the foot to be going back into that position, or he's losing abduction or dorsiflexion, then the child will go back into the casting phase of treatment before continuing with bracing.
Got it. So you are ready for the brace.
Check out the next video for more information on brace fitting and parent education.